Journalists do research too. You might think of a journalist only as someone who reports events and interviews people. But journalists also need to know the facts underlying the stories they report. A journalist's research skills can help you as a student, as this video shows.
Do you ever wonder, when people come across a topic or story that interests them, they often want to know more. And when they want to know more, they begin with, I wonder. Jake takes out his family's recycling every week. He thinks,
I wonder how much recycling has reduced the amount of garbage in landfills.
As Mickey watches the latest animated movie, she wonders, how can I learn how to make movies like this? Roger is looking over applications for colleges and financial aid. He wonders,
which college has the best engineering program for the most affordable tuition?
Jake, Mickey, and Roger each wondered something. To find answers, they each did research in different ways. In newspapers and books. On the internet. Or by going directly to the source. Do you ever wonder? And when you do, where do you find the answers?
Getting the facts right. Journalism affects our daily lives. Good journalism requires solid research and responsible language. Explore this video on the subject.
Hi, it's Olivia. Today's recycling day. I think it's cool that bottles, cans, and paper can get reused and made into different things. It takes several steps before recycled materials can be reused: collecting, cleaning, reshaping. It's kind of like the process journalists use when they turn ideas into stories. Let's look at each of those steps in more detail and put all the steps in their proper places. Any story starts with an idea or a subject. A journalist then has to research and gather a lot of information about that subject from various sources. Next, journalists double-check these sources to make sure they are reliable and the facts are accurate. Finally, the journalist puts the information and research together and writes a story the public can understand. Let's go back and look at the first step, discovering an idea. An idea can come from anywhere. For instance, it might be something a journalist hears. Let's say a journalist overhears that a company has been hiding information that proves it is harming the environment. There is an idea for a story, but it's not a publishable story yet. If journalists think a story idea has merit, or if they think it's a story the public has a right to know, they will go to the next step, research. That's where they discover the truth behind the story. A journalist will use many sources to research a story. The most important are primary sources. A primary source is direct evidence. A primary source for this story could come in the form of interviews with people directly involved with the situation, company emails, government inspection reports, or other similar documents. For many reporters, direct observation of events are a large part of primary research. Journalists also use secondary resources, such as books, articles written about the company, or other evidence that connects to the story. For instance, interviews with experts or people who know about the situation but are not directly involved in the situation are secondary sources. Before journalists start to write stories, they must make sure or verify that the research is reliable and accurate. A journalist will check primary sources to make sure those sources are the original documents, not more recent versions or copies that might differ from the original. They will also check the online sources they used. There are many websites that are unreliable, such as personal blogs or Wikipedia. Examples of reliable websites include government sites, reputable news sites, and other sites that deal in facts, not opinions. Many eyewitnesses and experts are considered reliable, but journalists must be able to tell the difference between facts and the person's opinions. Journalists must also be able to identify errors in information from eyewitnesses and experts. Once journalists finished researching, the next step is writing the story. Journalists often find that the story they need to write is very different from the story they started with. During the research process, they may discover facts that lead them in unexpected directions as they pursue the truth. That's why it's so important to gather multiple sources and to check them carefully. As journalists write, they synthesize the research so the story is clear and easy to understand. They stay away from highly technical jargon. They try to use common terminology as much as possible, and to write in simple sentences to help readers understand complex ideas and events. Journalists may also put the story in the context of a larger problem. The story could raise other questions, such as, are other companies hiding information? There are many steps a journalist has to take to write a credible story that the public will read and take seriously. Gee, I wonder how many steps it'll take to turn my recycling into something the public can use again.